I'll kick off the introduction. For those who don't know me, my name is Liz Collius and I'm CEO of Vidversity. I'm not presenting today because I'm not the expert. My co-founder, Natalie Whelan, is the expert. Natalie's a really experienced educator with over 30 years experience in legal research training, and Nat was a lecturer in the Master's Postgraduate Program at University of Melbourne Law School for many, many years. She also continues to teach at the Law and Justice Program at TAFE, and does other consulting all around learning and development and education. And I think that sort of bringing together that real life teaching experience with digital learning and marrying the two is a really important part of what we do. Today's webinar is all about using digital tools and in particular AI for learning and development. And we're really passionate about skilling everyone up, making digital tools available to everyone, all subject matter experts, whatever field you're in. We really feel that it should be a democratic process and accessible to everyone. So I'll throw it to Nat. Please put any questions in the chat. I'll keep an eye on it. I'll answer what I can, and what I can't answer we'll cover at the end. So please turn your attention to Nat and all her expertise.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. That's very kind, Liz. Liz and I, just a bit of background, we met at law school together. We've been working in our careers together since we were 23. So we practiced law together. We started a business, and this is our second business. So Liz is in Sydney, I'm in Melbourne, but I always feel that very blessed as a story to have had a career with one person. So I'm very, very grateful. And they say don't work with your friends. Well, I work with my best friend, and we've been going for over 25 years, so we're doing well. So just to confirm, Liz, we've got an hour? Yep. Okay, so I'm going to be very bold in this course and or in this webinar. I'm going to build an online course with you. I'm going to take you from a concept and use all different kinds of tools to show you what's out there. Now, I always say to people, just sit back and watch. Don't feel overwhelmed. Don't feel like I couldn't do that. Just pick the parts that might be of interest to you. We do run a workshop that's a half-day workshop where we actually do this stuff. So if you've got an appetite for that, but just come on the ride with me. Don't feel nervous or concerned. A lot of people say to me, oh my gosh, I'm so overwhelmed, I barely remember my name at the end of this session. So don't feel like that. Just go, that part wouldn't work for me, but that part would be really good. So just see where that resonates with you. And just start keeping an open mind about what AI can and can't do. Because I strongly believe in the hybrid approach, and that's what I'll be working today. There's a part, I always think of it as my helper, but I'm the expert or the subject matter expert on the content, or whoever is. I need that human element. So I'm not saying let's just throw it in a machine and an hour later you've got something. I'm just saying these are some tools that can help you on your journey. So on that, I'm going to be sharing my screen most of the time. Just keep asking questions to Liz and she'll ferry them through to me, and feel free to ask anything. But everybody brace yourself, strap yourself in. We're going to go on a live journey and we're going to try and build some training. So let's assume we could be an educator in a school environment, and we could be in a safety environment, we could be at a uni, we could be in a corporate world. Doesn't matter where you are. Let's assume someone's come to you and said, last year there were some changes made to employees' rights called the right to disconnect. And that's the laws around we can't be contacted 24/7 from our staff or from our organisation. Someone emails you, it doesn't mean you have to reply if it's outside hours. So it's about understanding what are your rights as an employee, but also what are your rights as an employer. So somebody comes to you and says, we need to train everybody in our organisation about these new laws around the right to disconnect. So I'm going to take you on a flow of how we could potentially build something. Now, I do say at Vidversity, we are a video-based education tool. So I'm going to be showing how to build the content, and then I'm going to make it into a video. But if you are using Storyline or Rise or anything else along the way, you can just take the parts of this process. Obviously, we think video is the optimum way to teach, but that's fine. Come on this journey with me. Okay, so I'm going to share my entire window, and I'm hoping that everybody can see what I can see, what I'm going to show you. So I will give this document out at the end just to give you, I'm going to be using a whole lot of different tools. So I just wanted you to know that I have written out the process that I'm doing today, and we're going to be going through each of these steps. I've put a little human symbol where I think it's critical that a human is involved in checking the content, but I'm just letting you know we will share this document in the chat if that's of interest. So although this session is called Beyond ChatGPT, step one is GPT, but then I'm going to show you all other tools. So let's go into ChatGPT. Now, I, as an organisation, have ChatGPT Plus, which means I pay for the additional services, but also I feel a little bit more safe around what content is being put in here and protected. Having said that, I'd never put client information in here or personal information, but so a couple of these things I'm going to show you have got the paid feature. But if you are comfortable just using the normal ChatGPT and you want to just use that, you can replicate everything I'm doing. But the thing that I do is somebody's come to me and said, I need to create this training around the right to disconnect. So in ChatGPT, I created a project, and inside that project, I've got a number of steps. So I called this project Create Training, and I'm just showing you at a very high level. Again, just let this wash over you. Don't worry too much about the how. But a project allows you to build individual, what they call chats inside it. So I've called this Create Training, and I've done two things that will really help me get the content that I want. One is I provided really detailed instructions of what I want to do in this project. So, and I replicate this over and over. So the first thing is that the purpose of the project is to create quality content for Australian learners. So when we're thinking of telling anything in AI, tell it that you're in Australia. I do not want to know what the law is around the right to disconnect in California. I'm talking about Australia. I've told it when I want to create content, I want it to have design thinking, ADDIE. I want all the different science learning models in there so that it really understands what I'm asking of it. And the advantage of setting this up, of course, is I don't have to type this in every time. I've then told it I'm going to be having a series of instructions. Step one is I want to go and find relevant content. But I want trustworthy content, and I've told it to focus on government websites, EDU sites, and then particularly deal with regulators and peak bodies. So I've given it some really detailed instructions. And as I say, I only built this once, and then I'll use this every time I create anything new. But it's worth spending a bit of time in ChatGPT if you can to set this up. Step two, I want it to design the learning outcomes. These must be measurable, and again, I want them to use these adult principles, and I really want about 4 or 6 of them. Step three, I want to create the training content objectives, but I really want to match it to those objectives. I want to start thinking about what is the content that's going to be in there. Step three, I want it to develop some case studies for me. Step four, I want to create useful resources. I love things like checklists. I love having a checklist that allows you to be able to work through what you've just learned. Step 6 is I want to populate our planner. At Vidversity, we have a planner we use to create. So that's like our storyboarding. So I'm just hoping you get a sense that what I've done, yeah, I don't think I'm showing the right site. Thank you. I'm going to go back in, stop sharing, and I'm going to share. Thank you, Andrew, who just told me that. I just realized. So I'm going to. No, it's still
on the flowchart now.
Okay, that's okay. We'll just okay.
All good.
All right. Thank you so much, Andrew, for pointing that out. So we're in the chat. So I'll just quickly reiterate where I was. So in the chat, you go to new project, and you create a project. I've called mine Create Training. And then I've added 2 bits of information. I've done my instructions, which I was just reading out to you. So I've put some very detailed, and I use ChatGPT to help me this, but I put in the models I wanted to follow. I told it that this is the steps I want. I told it that I want it to focus on government websites. So I've really given it very, very detailed information. And I don't, as I say, the advantage of setting up a project is I have put this as just generic stuff. It's not about the right to disconnect. I use this series of steps every single time I want to create content. So if anybody wants those prompts or wants to see what I've done, but I've gone in and I've given it clear instructions. So I've called this project Create Training, and I've gone in because I really want to show ChatGPT what I'm looking for. So make sure you're putting in really good information. The second thing is we use a planner at Vidversity. So I've uploaded that planner so it understands the way I want the content delivered. And then I start my journey. So I've put them in as steps. So step 1 for me is find Australian content. So in here, I would give it a prompt, find information. So it's already got all that background information to help me build and I'll put in 30-minute online module on the right to disconnect. Now, in Australia. Now, remember, it's got all those other prompts. It knows what I'm looking for. So off I go. Now, this step is the one that I think requires the most human intervention. If you do not get your content right at the beginning and it hallucinates and it makes things up, your entire course could have information in it that's wrong. So I would spend a decent amount of time. If I'm not the subject matter expert, I'd send it to the person who is, or if I had someone that I think is the best person, because it's gone and given me all this really useful information. But I would be thinking I need, and I might even say I need more resources. Okay. And off it will go. So the first thing is I'm using it as a research assistant. I say, go and find information for me to prepare this. Now, the next step that I do personally, and please let me know, Liz, I'm about to go and show a document called The Right to Disconnect. Has it moved to that?
No, you're still, yes, you're now in the Google Doc.
Okay. So whilst I'm starting this, now I'm a Google girl, it doesn't matter what you use, I use a Google Sheet, but I create a Google Sheet called The Right to Disconnect. And so my first thing is I've asked for resources, and I use the tabs in Google Sheet, and whatever the chat gave me, I just copy it in here. So I'm starting to build out a document where all of my information that I'm gathering is in here. Okay, so I go back and I do step 2. So I just literally go through each step. So my steps are, first one is I ask it to go and find a content. Step 2, I say using that content, so can you do some learning outcomes? So create some learning outcomes. Again, I'm always checking this. This is not, it's not replacing me. It's my assistant. So as someone who's worked for 20 years at Melbourne Uni, I have research assistants help me all the time. It's not up to them to get it, check it. I have to check it. And I see this as the same thing. So, so my first step is I find content. Then I think about what are going to be my key outcomes and I verify those. Do they look good? Okay. So now, and it's because I've told it what I want. It says, would you like me to write some tailored learning outcomes for each chapters? Potentially, but I'm now going to go to step 3. So I hope the steps are making sense. Step 1, find the content. Step 2, get the learning outcomes. Step 3, create the actual content. Step 4, build for me case studies. Step 5, create some resources for me. And then step 6 is I say, put it all in the planner for me. All right, so I've prepared them for you, but I'm just letting you know that I go and I say and I think that the moral of the story I want you to get from this is I use ChatGPT to go and do a lot of hunting and gathering for me. But what I ultimately am doing is I'm building out a Google Doc where all that content is sitting. Okay, and I'm working really hard to verify the sources. I'm making sure that everything is reliable. I'm double checking it. I'm using myself as a subject matter expert or somebody else, and I'm now building out all of the content that I think will be necessary to create this. Now, I also think the other thing to take away from this is with ChatGPT, the lesson I've learned having done a lot of stuff in here is it is much better to break it down into steps. If you ask it to just build me a course, it'll get all kinds of lost. But I've now done this in a really systematic way. Now I have a Google document that, and I've prepared this one earlier, so just to let you know. So I've got the resources, I've got my learning outcomes, I've got my detailed content. So this is what I've gathered from checking it all. I've got my case studies. Okay, now I'm going to swap to the next tool that I use. The next tool that I use, and I use this all the time, this is probably my favorite tool of them all, is Notebook LM. Again, I have the paid service, but you can use it for the free service as well. Now, what Notebook LM is and you can see everything is about justice because I teach in justice, but I've prepared one for you with Australia's right to disconnect. The difference with Notebook LM is you upload your content. So it does not go out to the world to look for information. You put your content in here by simply going add. So you can add Google Docs. So I've added the Google Doc that I just created. You can add websites, you can add YouTube, or you can add you can just copy text in there. So I could go and find some interesting, so I could go onto the internet, and I know you can't see this, I'm going to share for you in a moment. I could go looking for really useful documents or web pages. So I will have this web page, and I think this is a really critical web page. I'm going to add this. So the right to disconnect from the Fair Work Ombudsman. I'm going to go back to here. I'm going to add this as a website. So the difference here is you are using this AI tool to search the information you have put in there. So the kind of things this is amazing for, I'm using this enormously for my students. I'm saying to them, upload all your research material and get it to write some content for you to help prepare for an exam. So let's look at some of the things Notebook LM does, which I'm sure many of you might be familiar with this. One is, all the content you've uploaded, you can ask it to do a number of things. And there's some prompts over here on the right-hand side. You can ask it to create a study guide for you, and it will go through all the content you want. You can ask it to generate, you just click on generate, and it will create a podcast for you. Now, if you are like me and you are used to learning and listening to podcasts, I am using this all the time. So if I have to read, so obviously I'm very case heavy. If I have to read 3 cases from the High Court, I upload it to here, and let's listen. Liz, tell me if you can hear this podcast.
Late at night.
Yep.
The feeling of truly switching off.
So it's a podcast where 2 people have a discussion about the content you've uploaded. Now, let me tell you an amazing use case for that I'm using personally. I'm teaching at TAFE. I have 5 students in my class who have dyslexia. Before every class, there's obviously reading people have to do. I upload this, so let me show you. I'll go out of here. So in my class, I'm doing the Diploma of Criminal Justice. For every class, whatever I'm teaching, I will go in and I'll say, generate a podcast, and then my students have the opportunity to listen to that before class. Can you imagine if reading wasn't your strength, the ability? So let's go and listen to one of the podcasts. Let's listen how it is.
It feels almost impossible sometimes.
Oh, absolutely. The lines between, work life and home life have just gotten so blurry.
Completely. It's like there's this constant background hum, isn't there? That feeling you might need to be available.
Yeah, that expectation, even if it's unspoken.
Exactly. And well, that's why Australia has actually stepped in and done something legally. They've introduced this right to disconnect.
Hmm.
So today we're going to do a deep dive into all the material you've brought together for us, the actual legal.
That's probably enough. But how amazing. I just download that, listen to it in the car, and all of a sudden I've listened to two people discussing something that I've really got to understand. There's even this interactive mode, which is like pretending it's a radio station and it's a call-in. You just can call in and ask questions and they'll answer them for you. So just be aware that's something. Yeah, it is the best tool, Costas, and definitely worth a subscription. I just think it's been life-changing for me. My life is reading a lot of content, and the ability to do that, and it is so simple. You literally, so if anyone thinks, oh, how would I do that? You literally come into, let me see if I can find understanding. So if last night I had to teach how to do an appeal in the Supreme Court, you literally just click on generate and it will generate that for you. So it is not a hard process. Yeah, the study guide. So let's go back now to the right to disconnect. So the study guide I just clicked on, let's have a look at what it does. Really amazing if you're trying to come up with how to make sure you know the information. It creates a glossary for you, essay format. So it's got all these lovely prompts, timelines, if we wanted to know a sense of when the changes were made. If you wanted to create an FAQ for your policy, you might have a policy at work that people are really struggling to understand. You just click on the FAQ and it will generate that. And why it's so powerful, it's using your sources. It's not going out to the internet. So the flow is we went to ChatGPT and we got content. And we put it into a Google Doc, which we've checked all along the way. We haven't just relied on it. We've built out all of these learning outcomes. We've built out the checklist, the resources, all of this amazing content, but we haven't relied on it until we proved it up. Once I'm happy with that document, I add it into here. Now that wouldn't let me do the Fair Work Act because of copyright. That Fair Work, that's fine. So once we've done it, I've just uploaded my document. Now I can start doing some really interesting things. I can start saying, can you please, I don't know why I always feel the right to have manners but anyhow, and it knows that I'm a terrible typist too and speller, so there you go. Can you please create a PowerPoint presentation to use in my 30-minute training? And it's now going to go and it's going to create for me. I love that we get annoyed that it takes 2 minutes or 30 seconds. Okay, so it's gone and it's done a list of, or it's prepared for me. Now, the thing to be, if you do have the paid version, you can click on Save to Note, and it means it'll save it for you over here on the right. So you don't have to try and copy it and put it anywhere else. But now what I'm going to show you, so what have we done? We've got our content. We would have checked it. We've done a detailed overview of what we're going to teach, but now we want to put a PowerPoint slide deck to that. And I've asked it to do that for me. Okay, so I've gone and gathered that information. I'm going to say, let's just copy that for argument's sake. So you go down and copy it. Now I'm going to show you another tool, and this tool is called Gamma. Again, this is a paid tool. It's free for up to 10 PowerPoint slides. So this one, if you're only making 10 slides, go for it. This is a fantastic tool for me, who's not enormously creative, but I do like the idea of things looking good. And let's have a look what it does. You can either upload a document, or you can just put in some information and it will help you, but I'm going to go in and paste in here. And I'm going to paste in what we just took from there. And these are my slides. And down the bottom, I don't need that. That's just some tips. And then I'm going to, it's asking me, do you want to do a presentation, a web page, a document? I want to do a presentation. Inside my presentation, I've got some choices. It's going to make some PowerPoints for me. do I want it to generate it completely, just sort of make it up? Do I want it just to condense what I've put in there, or do I want it to preserve my original content? I'm going to say condense because I don't want it to say slide title and all that. On my slides, do I want a brief amount of information? Do I want a medium amount or detailed? I'm going to say medium. I'm then going to click on continue. Now I get to choose a theme. Now you can upload your own themes. Okay, you can put whatever you want in there. It doesn't, it can be, but I'm just going to choose one. Let's just see. I'll choose one down here. Okay, I'm going to choose this one. And now I'm going to click on generate. And it's going to make a PowerPoint slide deck for me. Now again, it'll make images, it's going to do all kinds of things. Lots of it I won't like. I mean, look at this. This is off making me a PowerPoint deck. So we've been going for about 15, 20 minutes, and we've now got an outline of our course. Admittedly, I had made the chats already in ChatGPT. Now, a lot of it, as I say, I won't love. But I tell you what, it's much easier to edit something than start from scratch. So like, that's too polished for me. That's not my branding. But I've got a nice PowerPoint deck, and you literally go up to share and you say export, and you put that in PowerPoint, and it will download it into PowerPoint where I can edit that easily. All right, so I can now go and make those changes, because like I say, I'm not enormously happy with those images, but pretty amazing if we just sort of stop and reflect. And I'm going to come back and check that everybody's still with me, but that's just downloads into PowerPoint. But I have now got some pretty nice looking slides that have got some great information in it that, remember, I've checked. Okay, so I definitely don't want a picture of those men drinking beer. That is not what the right to disconnect is about. If you want to drink beer, that's fine, but I don't think you should be in your hard hats. Okay, so that's not. So there's a lot of, lots of people say to me, oh, AI is not there yet. It definitely isn't, but nor is often my young assistant who I'm training. You know, my job is to support this. So my job is to make sure that I'm there, or whoever the relevant person is making sure this is all correct, and we sign off on it. And as I say, you can upload your own templates and away you go. All right, so I'm just going to come back and make sure this is all making sense. Is this making sense to everybody? You're with me on the journey that we're going on? We had an idea. We've got our Peter, question.
Hey, thank you. Apologies, I was 5 minutes late. I'm in my ChatGPT page, like on the other screen, to try and follow along, but I've missed the boat, and I'm just catching up after 12. So I'm not sure where you started to generate this whole
right back to the
page.
beginning. Yeah, good on you. And let's go right back to the beginning, because that's why I'm coming back to check. We don't want you to be so lost that it's okay. So the very first concept, Peter, was imagine somebody in your organisation has come to you.
I can't hear anything. I don't know if it's just me.
Can you hear me, Liz?
I can hear you fine, Nat. Yeah. Jim can hear. Capilla can hear. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll just put Peter. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, keep an eye on it. And when Peter's hearing again, I'll just go back and do a quick reminder of where we're at. But so what we've done is we had an idea that was the right to disconnect. We used ChatGPT to generate some content which we verified. So I'm just start again for you, Peter. So at the very start, oh, that's okay. Let's assume we've been given the task to create a training module on the right to disconnect. So we've got a very broad concept. We can then go to ChatGPT to help us gather the information with a really healthy skepticism. Is it going to be right? Okay. And in ChatGPT, I created a project, And yes, you will get a recording. The most important thing I think with ChatGPT is twofold. One is don't ask it to do too much in one prompt. So in a project, I break it down into steps. The second thing is give it really solid, really, really good instructions. So I've worked really hard on this. I've said to it what science and learning design science I want it to think about. I've told it that I want it to be Australian. Yes, Peter. Yeah, step-by-step prompting. Thanks a lot, Anchor. Yeah, so we're making sure we're giving it good information and we're breaking it down into steps. And I pre-save that. So next time if someone comes to me tomorrow and says, can you do training on the positive duty laws? Yeah, I go to step 1 and I just do the exact same. Create or find resources to prepare a positive duty training module, and I might tell them who the audience is for my staff, whatever, and I might say who they are. So my point is, I'll show you that, Peter. It's a paid service, so we'll get to it. I'll come back to you at the end. Okay, so the point is I've set up this before and now I use it every time. Every time I want to create content, I use this flow that I've been showing you. Okay, so once we've got all our content and I've created this great document that is my center of truth. I make a Google Doc my center of truth. I've then used Notebook LM. I've used it, so I've gone into Notebook LM. I've created a new project. I've uploaded my document, and now this is where I'm gathering all of my information. So the next thing I'm going to ask, so what have we done? We've got a PowerPoint now, but what are we going to put with that PowerPoint? Well, I'd like a voiceover to that PowerPoint. So I'm going to say, create a script to match the slides. And off it goes. Again, I'm going to check this. Just because it wrote it doesn't mean I'm happy with it. But it's been using me for, I've been training this, so it kind of knows the look and feel that I'm interested in and the way I tend to speak. Okay, so I copy my script. And if I go back over to here, you'll see I've got my script. Here's my script. But I'm going to use an AI tool to generate this. So I always have a second tab in here, which is my script, where I get rid of a lot of those things like the word narrator and that. And now I'm going to show you my next tool. So I've used a tool to generate the PowerPoint that was called Gamma. I'm now going to use a tool called Play HT. And Play HT, again, all of these have a free version and a paid version. So Play HT is a voice generator, and you can create a clone of your own voice, which I have done. And then you simply go new file, and I've done one earlier because it takes a few moments to, and you just paste in that entire script and you click on generate. And then you will hear, this is what it sounds like.
At its core, it protects employees from being required to respond to work communication.
So you'll see
Now, this is a recent legal reform introduced in Australia. At its core, it protects employees from being required to respond to work communications outside of their scheduled work hours. This includes communications like calls, emails, and messages. Now, this is a...
What do you think of that? It's pretty good. That's pretty good. And why I like that, there also is 11 labs, but I'm sort of, the reason I like this one, you can export it all as one single file, which I really like, but also it breaks it up. And if you're not happy with one of them, you just click on, if one of the paragraphs, if you don't think they've done a good job, you just regenerate just that paragraph. All right. So now I've got a PowerPoint slide. I've got an audio, and now I can go to, so I'll just show you, any kind of editor. So I use Movavi. It doesn't really matter what you use. So what you need some way to merge that PowerPoint with the audio. All right, so let's have a look at the way that I would do that and see if we can just let me know, Liz, can we see that? So I use Movavi, and it doesn't really matter what you use, but you just go in and you go add, and I've added all my slides. You just say file import, and I've added the audio. And now if we look at that, I've added the two. So, and I would save that as a file. All right, so I told you, strap in and be brave. We're doing we're going hard, okay? We're doing a lot of stuff. So I now have a video of the content. So let me show you the next step that I would do, because what do I want to do to make that content even more engaging? I probably want to add additional things like resources, quizzes. I really want to bring this alive. So this is where I would now go back to let's go into my notebook, and I'll say to it, can you make a summary of this for my learners? So I'll do that. And I'll think about printing that out. I'll ask it, can you create some case studies? So I just keep building out all this information. I put it all in my Google Doc, some case studies to reinforce the learning. And I love it because my spelling and typing is pitiful and it doesn't care. It's just, it's so used to me being hopeless that it just comes with me on the journey. Okay, so I gather all this information, and now we're ready to go and put all this into Vidversity. Now, it doesn't matter, as I say, this is the last piece of the puzzle. It does not have to be Vidversity that you use, but I just thought I'll show you what I've done ultimately with this. So here you can upload your video, you can do a number of things, and then I'm going to show you this I've jumped around, I'm well aware of that, but this is how I've ended up delivering this to the learner. All right, so I just did this morning. This is just pretend, it's not real. I just used exactly this flow. So the first thing is, when I think about a learner watching a PowerPoint slide with a voiceover, it's interesting, but it might not be enough to really keep them engaged. So I did a little introduction video. I just went on to Zoom, or I think it was Zoom or Google Meet, I can't remember, this morning, and just recorded myself. So I always think about, when I'm thinking of how to deliver this, I don't want to just dump a video into my LMS. I love breaking it down into chapters. So I've got an introduction, I've got that one we just built then, and then also some case studies. The introduction I like to do is a human. If you've got the subject matter expert, if somebody's comfortable, this took me 30 seconds and you can tell it doesn't look very professional, but that doesn't matter. Often it's just the authenticity. If I'm the actual trainer in the organisation, they go, oh, that's Nat. Okay, this is her. So let's have a look.
Hi, I'm Natalie Wheeland, and I'm just going to be taking you through a pretty short module. It should take you around 20 minutes to understand your rights and the new rules around the right to disconnect, which came into Australia in late 2024. And it's a really important concept that just because we've got our phones and we've got our computers at home, we are not available 24/7 to our organisation. And sometimes there might be a temptation to do that, but the reality is we've all got to get a bit of a balance and we will burn out. So there is protection around that. So if you are being asked to do things outside your work hours, you're constantly being contacted, you're expected to answer emails, that's what this is about. So this session is broken down into a number of chapters, which you'll see over on the right-hand side. There's some quizzes that you'll be asked to complete. There's also some case studies, just really to get you thinking about, do you understand this content? Up the top right-hand corner, there's some buttons. One of them will take you to a glossary, so to really get a sense of the key terms involved in this sort of training. some additional resources. And what I hope you can do is do this as one, but as you need, come back to the relevant parts just to reinforce any of that learning. So enjoy. It's going to be, you'll watch some material and then you're going to be quizzed about it. You might have some reflection questions, and at the end of it, you'll receive a certificate. So any issues or concerns, always reach out to us and we'll be able to help you through that. But otherwise, enjoy and get going.
I think that's a really important piece, to have an introduction to it. Now off we go.
Welcome to our session on the right to disconnect. Now, this is a recent legal reform introduced in Australia. At its core, it protects employees from...
So that's the video we just made. And then at the end of that video, I've got...
Be ready to adjust them based on feedback from your employees. And
so I've just built in a little quiz, so the learner has to go and have a go at some of these things. Sorry, I just saw the comment from David. Yes, agreed. So I've built in some quizzes, so the learner has to engage a little bit. I'm a big fan of, let's see, I'm a big fan of fill in the gap. I think that if we really want to test learners, it's such a great way. We put in our details. And then just so you know, I also used...
managers.
Remember I did... I made a glossary, so in Notebook LM, so I put that in here so the learner can draw on that at any time. Whenever you're training, glossaries are so important. There's so many acronyms and things we use in our workplace we forget about. I've also put some resources up here, so I put that summary document and checklist. Remember, I created those in Notebook LM, so I've put them in here. And then finally, I've done some case studies.
Today, we will explore the practical application of Australia's new right to disconnect through a series of case studies. These examine the processes enshrined in Section 333M of the Fair Work Act 2009. It provides employees with the right to refuse to monitor, read or respond to employer or work contacts outside of their scheduled work hours unless that refusal is unreasonable. What study illustrates a common situation where an employee feels after hours contact infringes?
After hours, that's because I hadn't corrected that with my online, with my Play HT. So let me just go back to the beginning. So just if anybody wants this, it was so fast. I'm well aware of this. If there's any of it you're thinking is of interest, just reach out and ask me a question. But let's just go through the steps that we did today in our very short time. One is I used ChatGPT to go and find a whole lot of information for me. Now, I used it by breaking it down into the steps, but I also gave it really powerful instructions. The instructions, make sure even if you're just using the normal ChatGPT, Peter, you can do that. You can do, what I did was the paid version, but if you're just using the normal ChatGPT, the steps are, don't just tell it to build a course, break it down and say, can you find information for me for this course? And then the second one is, can you create the learning outcomes? Come up with the steps that work for you. But also put really good instructions, and probably the most important is to put in that you're in Australia. You do not want it giving you information that is not relevant to us, okay? So this is the hunting and gathering and getting the information. And I've got the little human symbol there because you must verify that content. Whilst I'm doing that, I'm constantly building a Google sheet or Google Doc where I'm putting all that information. Okay. Once I've got all that information, I now am going to move over to Notebook LM, because Notebook LM is using your content and is able to do lots of things with your content. And this is where it becomes real. I'm just loving Notebook LM because I can create timelines, FAQs, glossaries. I can create a podcast, but I have to make sure the content I put in there is correct. I then use also Notebook LM because I now know my content for it to generate a script. I also ask it to come up with a PowerPoint structure. Once I've got my PowerPoint structure, I use Gamma to build a PowerPoint deck for me. It's going to go and use my content because I don't want the AI to generate the content. I want it to be my content. Yes, sorry, Alan, I'll put in the prompts that I use, and I'll do an overview of all my instructions. Okay. So once I've got my PowerPoint, which has been designed up here, all the words, I put it into Gamma. Once I've got my script, I put it into PlayHT. I then use my tool, Movavi, to merge those two. And now I've made a video. And that might be the step that you finish. You just say, that's enough for me. I'm going to put that into my current world. But then, obviously, Vidversity is a platform that we have built here in Australia. It's an interactive video, and everything you build in Vidversity can be delivered in SCORM, so we'll see that. But you use the process we use in our organisation is we add those videos to Vidversity. We attach slides, supporting material, quizzes, tasks, glossaries, and then you can deliver it two ways. You either package it up as a SCORM file and deliver it in your LMS, or we have a built-in LMS that delivers that. So even though I had an hour booked, I have built a course really in this 45 minutes using those. Now, the human element takes hours. Don't underestimate how important it is to have the human check the content. There is no use. I always tell the story of my son when he was about 6 years old. Oh, mate, no, he must have been 10 and his sister was 6. And he did the most, this is what raising these millennial kids are. He did a PowerPoint presentation over the kitchen table of why he could sit in the front seat and his sister couldn't. I mean, the ability to persuade you is beyond belief. He did this amazing presentation of why she couldn't be in the front seat. She didn't weigh enough. She wasn't tall enough. And he put the laws up on the screen, and we all up on the kitchen. We're on the big screen. We all got to see it, and it was all brilliant, except all of the laws were from Canada. So it doesn't matter how brilliant your presentation looks. It doesn't matter if it's met the style guide. It doesn't matter if it's a beautiful experience. If the content is not true and correct, the learning is wrong. Okay, the training is not good. So we must remember that the human element is so, so important, and we've got to keep that human element. But a year ago, if I'd told you you could do these things with these tools, it's mind-blowing. It's exciting and it's amazing, but just go in with a healthy level of skepticism. Make sure I check that content. I think we've got about 25 law cases now where it's come up with, it's made up things in ChatGPT. So that's why you spend the time giving it the good prompts, giving it the information it needs, and verifying it. And then you're off and running. I mean, I don't know what you think about that, the cloning of my voice, but I think it's pretty amazing. I think it's probably doing a better job than me, that has kids making lunch, or there's a bird outside my window and I have to start again. So the ability to, I don't have a studio, the ability to create my voice and then match it to the PowerPoint, really amazing. But I do think, and I'd be interested if you agree, just putting that PowerPoint to voice in your LMS is not enough. Put an introduction that's a human. Hi, I'm the trainer in my organisation. I'm Nat. You've seen me around, and explain why it's there. I think it really. So the way I always do it is an introduction with a human, the heavy content that I quiz, and then I always do some real life actual case studies. Because I think the application of how, and lots of people say to me, oh, they mightn't be able to get an answer. And I go, that's okay. It's the thinking, getting your brain thinking, what would I do in that situation is such a, reflective questions is so important as human beings. So it is, I just saw a comment. This was a lot of information. I did warn you at the start, Peter, you weren't here. The first few minutes I said, strap yourself in. This is going to be overwhelming. I don't want you to feel that. I want you to say, I'm going to go today and I'm just going to try Gamma. I'll just try one thing. Always ask us questions, but in a few weeks, we are doing a half-day workshop, if anyone has an appetite, where we're going to do it as a group. I'm going to show you something, then you're going to do it. I'm going to show you, then you're going to do it. And now everybody's going to come to that with something they actually want to work on, and we'll end up with, I say a finished product, but it won't be finished because I still want you to check everything. It'll be finished technically. But, if anyone's got an appetite for that, I'm sure Liz will be putting that information out. But I hope you found that was interesting. I hope it met your expectations, and we'll be sharing the recording. As I say, it was a lot, but I, as an educator, am finding this incredibly exciting. As I say, I teach at TAFE. I have a variety of students. I'm really finding I can make this information accessible. Like I say, every week now I make a podcast available before class of what we're going to learn. I cannot tell you how much more engaged my students are coming in, all fired up to have a discussion about something because they've listened to that podcast. So it's about thinking with that real difference, and I'm just loving this journey. I think it's amazing. So thank you everyone for joining us today. Anyone else, yeah, please reach out, and always follow me on LinkedIn, because I'm really in this space. I'm really happy to share any of this content. I think there's a lot of talk around AI and a lot of talk about the theories. I'm more interested in saying, let's just have a go. Let's just go through it, okay? Let's practice, because have a think about what are the consequences of what I just did. Nothing. Nobody saw any of it. I mean, you all did. But I haven't shared it to my staff. It's just an opportunity for me to have a practice and play around. So everybody, good teacher's one that's finished early. So we're finished early. Everybody have a lovely afternoon, and keep in the loop.
Wonderful, thanks. We'll send all the stuff either later today or tomorrow. So thanks for joining us, and we'll hope to see you at the next event.